Strategic thinking skills, the key to long-term vision and sustainable success. There are people who spend their entire lives entangled in urgent matters, burning themselves out over things that must be done, while forgetting the things that should be done. Some individuals are constantly busy, yet they never truly succeed, because they don't know how to place themselves on the bigger map. They can't see beyond what's right in front of them, and they never stop to ask, will what I'm doing today take me to where I want to be in 5 years? That's exactly why strategic thinking is not an exclusive privilege reserved for CEOs or high-level executives. It is a vital life skill for anyone who wants to rise, assert their worth, and leave a meaningful mark in this world. Understanding strategic thinking, not just a plan, but a broader vision. On the journey toward achieving any form of greatness, whether in career, finance, relationships, or self-mastery, the key isn't how fast you move. It's about knowing exactly where you're heading. A hard-working person without direction is like a powerful ship without a compass, lost in the vast sea of life. That's why strategic thinking is not a luxury reserved for CEOs or generals. It's an essential skill for anyone who wants to live with purpose and leave a lasting legacy. Strategic thinking is not just about planning. It's a way of seeing the world. Many people confuse strategic thinking with planning. They assume it's just about drawing up a to-do list, assigning tasks, setting deadlines. But in reality, planning is only a small piece of the puzzle. Strategic thinking is much deeper. It's the ability to zoom out from immediate tasks and see the bigger picture, to think long-term, to position yourself in the grand map of life and ask, will what I do today bring me closer to the future I truly want? That mindset doesn't come from checking boxes. It comes from learning how to pause, reflect, and evaluate with clarity. It's the difference between simply doing and doing with direction. The difference between reacting and thinking strategically. Two people might face the exact same situation. One reacts emotionally, rushed decisions, frustration, avoidance. The other pauses, assesses, connects the dots, and makes intentional moves based on long-term priorities. Imagine there's internal conflict within a company. A reactive person immediately chooses a side and argues emotionally. A strategic thinker holds back, observes the motivations behind each faction, understands power dynamics, and waits for the right moment to act, not to win a battle, but to strengthen their position in the long game. The lesson? Winning one round isn't the goal. Winning the war is. In life, that might mean turning down short-term income for long-term growth, sacrificing popularity now to build credibility later, or walking away from drama to preserve your peace and energy. Strategic thinkers know how to think beyond the present. What separates a strategic thinker from someone just surviving day by day is this. They think beyond the now. They ask questions like, what do I want to become in 5 years? Where is this path really taking me? What are the ripple effects of this decision? Those questions aren't just mental exercises. They're the compass that guides their daily actions. You'll notice this quality in great leaders. Marcus Aurelius, Napoleon Bonaparte, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk. They weren't necessarily the smartest in the room, but they saw farther than most. They spotted trends before others did. They invested in ideas nobody believed in. They persisted through criticism because their vision was clearer than the doubts around them. Strategic thinkers dare to think big, not because they're dreamers, but because they're builders of a future they've already envisioned in their minds. Strategic thinking isn't about winning today, it's about sustaining tomorrow. People often assume that strategy is all about victory, but true strategic thinking isn't about short-term wins. It's about sustainable strength. It's the mindset that keeps you from becoming arrogant after one success or devastated after one failure. It reminds you that every decision you make is a building block for your future stability. Imagine a business owner who can raise prices overnight to boost profits. A reactive mind might do so without hesitation. But a strategic thinker would ask, will this alienate my loyal customers? Will short-term gain harm my brand trust? They might choose to increase value instead of price, because trust, once broken, is far harder to rebuild than revenue. You don't need to be a genius. You just need a strategic mindset. The good news is, strategic thinking isn't a gift you're born with. It's a skill you can cultivate. Through consistent practice, conscious reflection, and a willingness to ask better questions, anyone can learn to think strategically. You don't need to run a company to benefit from it. Whether you're a student planning your education, a parent guiding your child, or a professional managing your future, strategic thinking will serve you. You can apply it in everything. How you choose your friends, how you spend your money, how you manage time, how you build your reputation, how you grow emotionally and spiritually. Strategic thinkers don't live randomly. They move with purpose, even when they don't have all the answers. The true power of strategic thinking, saying no to good for the sake of great. One of the most powerful signs of a strategic thinker is this: they don't chase every opportunity. They don't say yes to every gig, every social event, or every appealing shortcut, because they know every yes is a no to something else. And so they are selective, disciplined, grounded in their priorities. It's easy to be seduced by what's exciting now: quick wins, fast money, popular approval. But strategic thinkers evaluate whether those things align with their long-term values and goals. They don't just ask, "Can I do this?" They ask, "Should I do this? Will this make me stronger or scatter my energy? Is this noise or is this signal?" Strategic thinking is the light that guides you through chaos. Life is full of uncertainty. Plans change. Markets shift. Emotions fluctuate. People come and go. But if you have strategic thinking, you'll always have an internal compass. You won't be easily swayed. You won't be controlled by your emotions or the noise of others. You will know when to push forward, when to wait, and when to walk away. You will choose direction over speed, purpose over popularity, depth over distractions. The wise don't just run fast, they know where to run. If you've been drifting, feeling lost, or overwhelmed by choices, don't worry. Strategic thinking doesn't start with big changes. It starts with asking better questions, taking conscious action, and slowing down to think before you move. If this inspired you, helped you see life more clearly, or made you pause to reflect, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so we can continue growing together with vision, purpose, and strength. The core components of strategic thinking, the foundation for acting with purpose. If strategic thinking is a fortress of the mind, it isn't built on the bricks of luck or emotion. It's constructed on a solid foundation made of clear, conscious, and interconnected skills. It doesn't happen overnight. It's cultivated through continuous observation, deep reflection, and deliberate practice. To develop strategic thinking, you must first understand its essential building blocks. There are 5 core components. They are not optional. They are complementary. Miss one, and your decision-making weakens. Master all 5, and you gain the power to navigate complexity with clarity. Number 1, clear vision. Without direction, all effort is just motion. Every strategic thinker begins with a vision. And no, it's not just a vague dream like, "I want to be successful," or "I want to be happy." A true vision is specific, personal, long-term, and emotionally significant. It defines not just where you're going, but who you're becoming. This vision serves as your compass. Whenever you're at a crossroads, your vision whispers, "Does this move take me closer to who I want to be?" Without vision, people drift. They're constantly reacting to life rather than directing it. They work hard, stay busy, but their progress is random. Strategic thinkers, in contrast, always evaluate, how does today align with the next 3 years of my life? In business, lacking a clear vision leads to short-sighted decisions. In personal growth, it causes burnout. In relationships, it creates confusion. A person with vision, however, moves with intention, consistency, and direction. Systems thinking. See the forest, not just the tree. Strategic thinkers understand that nothing exists in isolation. Everything is part of a system. And to make wise decisions, you must see how all the parts interact, not just the part in front of you. Let's say you run a business and notice sales dropping. A surface-level thinker might blame the sales team, but a strategic thinker zooms out. Is the product still relevant? Has the market changed? Is the marketing strategy outdated? Are internal team dynamics affecting motivation? They don't treat symptoms, they diagnose root causes. They don't just solve the problem, they understand why it's a problem in the first place. Systems thinking requires training your brain to look at patterns, to ask, if I change A, how will B and C be affected? What's the hidden ripple effect here? It's not about being overly analytical, it's about anticipating the bigger consequences of your choices. 3. Forecasting and adaptability. You can't predict the future, but you can be ready for it. No one knows exactly what tomorrow holds, but strategic thinkers don't need perfect predictions. They need preparedness. They operate with scenarios in mind. If this happens, what's my move? If this fails, what's plan B? They don't rely on luck. They rely on contingency. When life throws them off course, they don't panic. They pivot, not because they're lucky, but because they saw the curve coming. Take the COVID-19 pandemic, for example. Businesses that had already begun transitioning online adapted and survived. Those who ignored the signs scrambled, and many failed. Strategic thinkers are the ones who saw trends forming, not when it was obvious, but when it was still a whisper. Being adaptable doesn't mean you change plans impulsively. It means you adjust while staying aligned to your vision. You remain flexible in method, but firm in purpose. 4. Value-based decision-making. Not every opportunity deserves a yes. Strategic thinkers know that just because they can do something doesn't mean they should. They don't chase every shiny object. They evaluate every option against one critical filter. Does this align with my long-term values and vision? Short-term thinkers seek quick wins, validation, or excitement. Strategic thinkers may delay gratification, sacrifice popularity, or turn down profits if it protects the integrity of their long game. For example, a company may be tempted to raise prices rapidly for fast revenue. But a strategic leader might say, what will this do to customer trust? Will it harm loyalty over time? Instead of grabbing easy profit, they increase value, which sustains the brand for years, not just quarters. Every decision becomes an investment. They choose actions that compound positively. They play the long game because they understand that legacy is built in layers, not sprints. 5. Influence and inspiration. Strategy means nothing without alignment. No matter how brilliant your vision or thoughtful your plan, if you can't communicate it, you'll walk alone. Strategic thinkers are not just inward thinkers, they are builders of alliances. They know how to inspire buy-in, align people, and create momentum around a shared goal. They don't bark orders, they tell stories. They invite others into their vision. They don't just ask, what's the plan? They ask, how can we get everyone moving together? Whether leading a business, a community, or even a family, influence is crucial. Without it, your strategy remains an idea on paper. With it, your strategy becomes a movement. You don't have to be charismatic to be influential. You just need clarity, empathy, and consistency in how you share your mission. Strategic thinking is not one skill, but an interwoven set of disciplines, from setting a clear vision, to connecting systemic dots, to forecasting change, making value-driven decisions, and leading with influence. These are not isolated traits. They are a system. Each supports the others. You can't think long-term if you don't know where you're going. You can't adapt if you don't understand the system. You can't lead if you don't communicate. If you feel weak in one area, don't worry. Every day is a chance to train. Each thoughtful decision you make, each priority you clarify, each opportunity you pause to evaluate, that's you becoming more strategic. As ancient wisdom says, those who fear distant trouble are the ones who enjoy long-lasting peace. If you want to not only survive but thrive, strategic thinking is your compass. Why you fail without strategic thinking, the cost of living without direction. In the modern world, countless people work tirelessly, constantly on the move, always busy. But surprisingly, few of them are actually going anywhere meaningful. They're active without direction, engaged without intention, and consumed by tasks that lead nowhere. Why? Because they lack one critical ability: strategic thinking. Strategic thinking is the difference between motion and progress, between reacting and leading, between simply surviving and building a life of clarity, purpose, and impact. Without it, even the most talented individuals find themselves stuck, frustrated, or burned out. Living without strategy is like sailing without a compass. Imagine you're in a boat, sturdy, well-built, capable of withstanding storms. But you have no map, no compass, no destination. You drift wherever the waves take you. You may move, but you're lost. You may survive, but you'll never arrive. That's what life without strategic thinking feels like. You wake up each day, check your phone, respond to emails, attend meetings, chase deadlines. But deep inside, a quiet voice asks, what is all this for? People without strategy often experience what psychologists call chronic aimlessness. They constantly seek external approval, jump from task to task, or fill every moment with activity, because stillness would force them to confront the uncomfortable truth. They have no plan. Symptoms of a life without strategic thinking. Here's how you can tell if someone, or even you, lacks strategic thinking. They're always busy, but always behind. Their days are filled with motion, but they never feel like they're getting closer to anything important. They react instead of respond. When problems arise, they panic, lash out, or freeze. They don't pause to reflect or weigh long-term consequences. They follow trends instead of setting direction. Today they chase money. Tomorrow they chase fame. The next day it's whatever social media says is important. They let others define success for them. Without a personal vision, they rely on external metrics, likes, titles, income, comparison. They rarely ask the deeper why. Why am I doing this? What outcome do I want? Is this aligned with the life I want to build? These questions scare them, so they avoid them. This is a dangerous way to live, not because it's chaotic, but because it looks normal. It's easy to justify. Everyone else seems to be doing it. But slowly, without realizing, you're building a life that may be busy, but deeply unsatisfying. Strategic thinking protects you from burnout and regret. People who lack strategic thinking are more vulnerable to burnout. They give their energy to every demand, chase every opportunity, please every request, until they collapse. They say yes too often because they don't know what to say no to. They say maybe too much because they haven't decided what they stand for. They also suffer the curse of regret. At 40, they wonder what happened to their dreams. At 50, they look back and ask, how did I end up here? Strategic thinking prevents that. It gives you a framework to evaluate choices, to set boundaries, to prioritize what truly matters. It lets you design a life with foresight instead of living by default. The illusion of progress, when action replaces strategy. In today's hustle culture, action is glorified. People are praised for being busy, for working 12-hour days, for multitasking endlessly. But busyness is not the same as productivity, and action is not the same as progress. Without strategy, you may climb the ladder, only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. You may achieve results, but not fulfillment. You may get attention, but not alignment with your true self. It's easy to confuse momentum with meaning. Strategic thinking gives you the lens to see the difference. Strategic thinking builds internal control, not external dependence. One of the biggest dangers of living without strategy is that you become easy to control. Without your own map, you'll follow anyone who seems confident. Without clear goals, you'll be pulled by the goals of others. You'll work for companies whose mission doesn't resonate with you. Say yes to relationships that don't support your growth. Pursue careers because of family pressure, not personal vision. Let other people decide how your time is spent. This isn't freedom, it's reaction. Strategic thinking gives you back that freedom. It lets you say, this is what matters to me, and this is how I'll move toward it. It transforms you from a passive player in your life to an active architect of your future. Without strategy, even the best talent goes to waste. You can be smart, hardworking, and talented, but if your energy is scattered, unfocused, or misdirected, your potential will be wasted. History is full of brilliant people who never fulfilled their purpose, not because they lacked skill, but because they lacked direction. Strategic thinking doesn't amplify what you know, it amplifies how you apply what you know. It turns knowledge into wisdom, effort into effectiveness, ideas into impact. Strategy is the oxygen of purposeful living. If you've ever felt like you're running in circles, always behind, constantly overwhelmed but never fulfilled, this is your wake-up call. You don't need to work harder. You need to think smarter. You don't need to do more. You need to do what matters. And you don't need to chase everything. You need to commit to something meaningful. That something begins with strategic thinking. With pausing, reflecting, defining your direction, and making sure your next step is leading somewhere real. As the old saying goes, the wise do not rush, they walk with direction. Taking time to think, not just act. Because being busy doesn't always mean being effective. We live in an age where being busy is worn like a badge of honor. People boast about how packed their schedules are, how many emails they answered, how late they stayed up finishing tasks. But here's a sobering truth. A lot of people are busy, but very few are effective. They're constantly doing, constantly moving, constantly reacting. But they rarely stop to ask, where is all this leading me? Are these tasks moving me closer to my long-term goals? Am I acting with purpose or just responding to noise? That's where strategic thinking begins, not in the rush of action, but in the stillness of reflection. The most overlooked habit of high-level thinkers, sitting still. Think about this. In a typical week, how many moments do you spend doing nothing but thinking? Not scrolling, not replying, not multitasking, just thinking. Strategic thinkers build in these moments deliberately. They schedule time to reflect, to zoom out, to ask big questions. They understand that clarity doesn't come from movement. It comes from stepping back to see the whole picture. Some do it in the early morning, while the world is quiet. Others reserve an hour every Sunday evening to review their week, adjust their focus, and realign with their larger vision. This is not wasted time. It's investment time. It's how you prevent burnout, refocus your energy, and ensure you're not just working hard, but working smart. Strategic thinking requires depth, not speed. The world rewards speed. Get it done. Do it fast. Move on. But speed without direction is chaos. Strategic thinkers don't rush decisions. They don't get caught in urgency bias. They understand that deep thinking creates better outcomes than fast thinking. They're not trying to win today's game. They're playing for the season, the legacy, the long arc of their purpose. There's a famous quote that says, "Action without thought is the cause of every failure." And it's true. Acting without thinking might bring short-term results, but it often leads to long-term regret. If you don't pause, you may not even realize you're chasing goals that don't belong to you. The trap of constant activity, when doing more means achieving less. Many people use busyness as a defense mechanism. The moment they pause, they're forced to confront uncomfortable truths. Am I actually fulfilled? Do I have a clear direction? Am I proud of how I'm spending my time? So instead, they stay busy. They check off to-do lists. They attend every meeting. They answer every message. But productivity without purpose is just movement, not progress. Strategic thinkers avoid this trap. They ask, is this task truly necessary? What would happen if I didn't do this? What are my top 3 priorities today? And is this one of them? They're not afraid of silence. They embrace it, knowing it's where real answers live. The power of thoughtful pauses, where breakthroughs are born. Great decisions are not made in chaos. Breakthrough ideas are rarely born in the middle of stress. They arise in moments of calm, in the shower, on a walk, in a quiet corner with a notebook. That's when your brain connects ideas, sees patterns, and generates insights that are otherwise drowned in noise. Strategic thinkers protect this space. They don't fill every gap with a podcast or a scroll through social media. They create margin, because they know that creativity, clarity, and confidence are nurtured in mental white space. Avoid being pulled into urgent but unimportant tasks, because what's urgent isn't always what matters. In today's world, one of the most dangerous yet subtle traps is that of urgency. Unexpected phone calls, emails that must be replied to immediately, messages from friends or colleagues labeled very urgent. Before you know it, your day is consumed by tasks that demand immediate attention. But when night falls, you realize you're no closer to your long-term goals. This is the very trap many fall into, spending most of their time putting out fires without ever building a fire prevention system. You're busy handling crises, but forgetting the important foundations. The more you run, the more tired you feel. The more exhausted you are, the less time you have to think. And when you're not thinking clearly, you begin to lose your strategic edge. The Eisenhower Matrix, discerning what deserves your time. President Dwight D. Eisenhower once said, "What is important is seldom urgent, and what is urgent is seldom important." This inspired the well-known Eisenhower Matrix, which helps sort tasks into 4 categories. 1. Urgent and important. Do it now. 2. Important but not urgent. Schedule it. 3. Urgent but not important. Delegate it. 4. Neither urgent nor important. Eliminate it. Strategic thinkers devote most of their time to quadrant 2. This is where breakthroughs happen and long-term growth is nurtured. These are activities like creating personal development plans, learning new skills, investing in physical and mental health, or nurturing meaningful relationships. In contrast, people who lack strategic thinking often operate in quadrants 1 and 3, constantly reacting, constantly stressed, yet rarely progressing. The subtle trap of being busy to feel valuable. Let's face it, sometimes we make ourselves busy not because the tasks are important, but because we want to feel useful. We're afraid of stillness because stillness forces us to ask, who am I without tasks to accomplish? Strategic thinking empowers you to embrace the stillness, to eliminate what doesn't serve you, to say no to distractions and invitations that lead nowhere. Because you understand that your value lies not in how much you do, but in the impact of what you choose to do. A person who selects the right tasks and executes them with intention is always more powerful than someone rushing from one thing to the next without clarity. The power of prioritization. Strategy is the art of choosing. You can't do everything, and you don't have to. Strategic thinkers understand that choices reveal your personal values. Choosing task A over task B is your way of saying, this is what matters more to me. Wise people don't try to please everyone. They focus on fewer tasks, but dive deeper. They know that doing 100 things half-heartedly will never match the power of doing a few things masterfully. Here's a tip. Stick to 3 priorities per day. No more. Completing 3 meaningful tasks is better than skimming 10 shallow ones. To choose is to refuse. The most successful people say no the most. Here's a surprising truth. Successful people aren't the ones who do the most. They're the ones who say no the most. They don't agree to every meeting. They don't chase every opportunity. They guard their focus like a warrior guards a flame, because they know every small decision made today shapes the version of themselves 5 years from now. If you don't reject what's trivial, you'll never have time for what truly matters. Don't drift through life like a leaf in the wind. We all have 24 hours each day. The difference isn't in time, it's in how we use it. Strategic thinkers don't let life carry them like a current. They design their lives intentionally. They know when to act and when to wait, when to observe silently, and when to make bold moves. They don't live to satisfy everyone. They live to stay true to themselves and to build a meaningful future. So if you feel like life has been pulling you in all directions, if you're busy but not fulfilled, or if you haven't paused in a long time to reflect on where you're going, it's time to change. Strategic thinking doesn't demand greatness. It only demands clarity and intention. Start small. Write down your vision. Choose the right things to focus on. Learn to say no. And every day, take just one step closer to the life you actually want. If this message helped you think more clearly about your path, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so we can keep walking this path of purpose together.